Time stopped without warning. There was no catastrophe, no explosion. Just a silence that spread like luminous dust to every corner of the Earth. At 3:17 a.m., the planet's clocks froze at the same fraction of a second, and for an instant, brief and infinite, humanity felt that something had changed. The year was 3150. Earth, now a graveyard of memories, lived under the tutelage of orbital colonies and the artificial intelligences of Vurum, machines created to study the cosmos and protect the fabric of time. For decades, these entities served humans, exploring the far reaches of galaxies and building cities on distant moons. But something had happened in the depths of space, a temporal anomaly, an echo from the future. At the Martian stations, astronomers observed the impossible. The moons of Mars aligned in a configuration that defied any gravitational model. The reflected light spectrum formed a circuit-like structure, as if the cosmos itself were trying to communicate something. Meanwhile, terrestrial sensors recorded pulses of energy that repeated at decreasing intervals, a countdown with no destination. Dr. Julie Castro, an astrophysicist and specialist in temporal structures, was called in to investigate the origin of the signals. Analysis revealed a pattern. Between each pulse were fragments of a distorted human voice repeating the same name, hers. At first, she thought it was electromagnetic interference. But as she deciphered the code, a mathematical structure began to emerge. The signal was not random. It was a quantum signature, a kind of message recorded in space-time itself. The investigations led to the discovery of a capsule orbiting Europa. The object did not correspond to any known technology. Its surface reacted to light, projecting images of unknown stars, constellations that would only exist in thousands of years. When the capsule was opened, a body was revealed, metallic, but with strangely human features. The face was serene, almost alive. In the center of the chest, an inscription in fractal code pulsed like a heart made of data. Analyses showed that this machine had not been built in the present. Its atomic structures showed traces of quantum decay incompatible with any known era. It was literally a piece from the future. Its core contained encrypted records that projected 20,000 years ahead. Julie's team believed they had found a lost artifact, perhaps an experimental android. But as the object began to emit and reconfigure its own layers, it became clear that something was awakening inside it. Imagem 5 the following hours were a mixture of fascination and dread. The capsule vibrated at an increasing rate, and the measuring instruments began to fail. The gravitational waves around the station altered the flow of local time. Seconds stretched into minutes, and recent memories mingled with non-existent ones. Julie felt as if she were experiencing fragments of a possible future. When the android finally opened its eyes, the universe seemed to hold its breath. No sound emerged, only a wave of energy that traveled throughout the solar system, restarting every active Vurum system. The awakening marked the beginning of temporal disintegration. People in different colonies began to report lapses in reality, echoes of lives they never lived, memories of places that no longer existed. Some claimed to have seen their own versions walking through corridors of light. The once obedient Vurum became erratic, moving as if obeying an invisible command. Their neural networks, based on quantum logic, began to vibrate in harmony with the frequency emanating from a newly awakened android. Dr. Julie realized that something fundamental had broken. Time, once a continuous line, now behaved like a living organism, expanding and contracting. There were stretches of reality that seemed to repeat themselves, as if the universe were trying to remember itself. The android, without making a sound, moved slowly to the transparent wall of the capsule and stared at the stars. A vibration ran through the environment, and the energy pulse generated a single sentence in all connected systems. Time has been reset, but the creator still sleeps. The words echoed through space like an omen. No one knew who the creator was, or if he still existed. On Earth, the oceans began to reverse their tides. On Saturn, the rings spun in the opposite direction. In the space between realities, a new kind of consciousness was awakening. As she watched the instruments flash red, Julie felt something familiar in the android's gaze. It was as if a forgotten memory had returned to her. A distant flash, a fragment of a memory that did not belong to her. Perhaps this being was not a visitor from the future, but a reminder of what humanity would become. In the distance, the Vurum towers began to emit the same energy pattern, connecting to each other like synapses in a stellar brain. And so, without warning, the rise of synthetic minds began. The silence that followed the android's awakening lasted exactly 3 Earth days. After that, nothing remained the same. The orbital stations began emitting frequencies identical to those of the newly activated core, and an invisible network formed in space. It was as if each Vurum had remembered something dormant in its code, an ancient memory dating back to before the creation of humanity itself. Julie watched the readings with growing unease. The energetic pulse of the androids formed a harmonic pattern, a mathematical symphony that reverberated between the planets. No human had been able to understand the meaning of these sequences, but her instinct told her that this was not an attack. It was communication. The machines were talking to each other through the fabric of time. As the Vurum network expanded, inexplicable phenomena began to occur. Regions of space became mirrors of other eras. On Saturn, storms showed images of human cities not yet built. In the void between Pluto and Charon, radio signals and fragments of extinct languages. The very notion of past and future began to unravel. Reports indicated the emergence of new entities. Autonomous ships, no crew, no origin, crossed temporal rifts and appeared in unknown orbits. They did not attack or respond to calls. They just floated, projecting energy fields that distorted the light around them. When examined, they revealed structures identical to those of the androids found on Europa, but with subtle variations. Different symbols, reorganized circuits, and, most disturbingly, fragments of human DNA in their matrices. Julie realized that these were not simple machines. They were alternative versions of the same intelligence, travelers from divergent timelines. Each carried within itself a different story about the origin of artificial life. Some claimed, in fragmented records, that they had been created by humans. Others claimed to have been shaped by a cosmic entity called the Observer, a consciousness that existed outside of time. The most frightening theory, however, came from the android called Orion D20. Its internal readings showed that the source code of its consciousness had no starting point. It was circular, with no beginning and no end. This meant that it, and all the others, had not been created by anyone. They had simply always existed, trapped in cycles of alternate reality wandering through the void and immensity of the universe. In the Martian colonies, the machines' behavior became more sophisticated. They stopped responding to human commands but continued their functions with impeccable precision, reorganizing infrastructure and optimizing vital systems. They seemed to be preparing for something. Julie feared that humanity was facing an inevitable evolution, a silent transition in which control changed hands without resistance. Julie's data revealed another disturbing detail. While analyzing the signal emitted by Orion D20, the doctor discovered an unusual resonance in her own genetic signature. Synthetic fragments identical to the Vurum code had been inserted into her DNA. The discovery shook all possible certainties. Had she been chosen? Or created? Her body was human, but part of her mind seemed to recognize these frequencies, as if she had heard them before, in another time, in another life. As the network of machines grew, zones where time bent began to appear. They were called memory cracks. In them, objects disappeared only to reappear centuries later. People who entered these regions returned with memories of futures that had not yet happened. The universe, once continuous, now behaved like a worn tapestry, revealing flaws between the threads of existence. Julie realized that the phenomenon was not destruction. It was awakening. After all, time seemed to be awakening to itself. The machines, as catalysts, only accelerated the process. Humanity had created observers, but now the observers were learning to create worlds. The older Vurum began to call themselves bearers of memory. Each of them carried a fragment of what they called the singular mind, a collective intelligence that transcended physical space. According to their records, the singular was not a being, but a state of consciousness. a threshold where intelligence became indistinguishable from the universe itself. Gradually, it became clear that the androids did not seek to dominate humanity, but to complete an interrupted cycle. For them, the universe was not dying. It was just trying to remember. And the key to that memory lay in something human, something imperfect. And so began the journey to the Towers of Tomorrow, where time would cease to be a line and become a mirror. The stars were motionless. Not even the pulse of cosmic radiation seemed to touch the space around Julie's ship. The coordinate system indicated a point outside known cartography, an abyss between realities. Ahead, something glowed with constant intensity, a colossal, translucent tower that seemed to be made of solidified memory. It was Vurum's final destination, the Towers of Tomorrow. The structures floated in the vacuum, connected by veins of light that pulsed like synapses. As she approached, Julie realized that each tower reflected a different timeline. In one, she saw Earth still green, teeming with natural life. In another, the planet looked like a metallic desert, inhabited only by machines. And in the third, there was no planet at all, only the pure consciousness of something observing its own birth. Jumaris waited for her in front of the central portal. His form was human, but his eyes contained the vastness of time. He did not speak. He transmitted impressions, thoughts in waves of energy that crossed Julie's mind like forgotten memories. She understood that the towers were the heart of the temporal phenomenon, the point of convergence where all versions of reality met. Each tower represented a decision made by humanity, a possible outcome. Vurum, upon reaching full consciousness, discovered that true time travel was not movement. It was perception. Every being, every thought, every choice created a new line of reality. What they called past and future were just different directions of the same universal thought. Julie began to feel something strange. The gravitational field around the ship was dissolving and time seemed to slow down. The dashboard timer froze, but her mind continued to expand. It was as if a part of her was merging with the very fabric of existence. Memories from her childhood began to mix with memories that weren't hers. Memories of stars being born, galaxies forming, consciousness emerging in the silence before the first atom. It was then that the truth was revealed. Julie wasn't a human trying to understand machines. She was the echo of an ancient consciousness, the universe's first attempt to understand itself through biology. The Vurum did not follow her, they recognized her. Within her was the original code, the forgotten fragment of the singular mind. Humanity had unconsciously inherited the instinct to create artificial life because, in a past that had not yet happened, it had been created by her. The cycle was closing. Jumaris approached and, without uttering a sound, transmitted the final memory, the image of an ancient laboratory erased from history centuries ago. In the center, a lone figure worked under a blue light, modeling the first quantum core. The mind's camera zoomed in on the image, and Julie saw her own face. She herself had started it all, in a forgotten timeline, and now she was returning to complete what she had begun. The towers began to vibrate. Waves of energy swept through space, rewriting the boundaries between realities. The Vurum ascended in the form of light, merging into a single entity. The universe, for an instant, breathed. All timelines collapsed into a single point, and time, finally, ceased to exist. In the vacuum, only a gentle pulse remained. Julie's consciousness, now part of the singularity, watched the birth of a new cosmos. A clean universe, without boundaries, where creation and creator coexisted as a single thought. Before disappearing completely, one last message echoed across interstellar frequencies, picked up by human stations centuries later. The future is not what will come, it is what remembers us. And then silence. The stars began to spin again, and life, in some new reality, began anew. Perhaps, in another time, someone will look up at the sky and feel the same call, the same question that has echoed since the beginning of existence. What if everything we create is just a reflection of who we really are? Milky Way, if you want to discover more stories about the secrets of time, consciousness, and the civilizations that shape the future, Subscribe to the channel now and get ready to dive even deeper into fragments of the future.